Glad everybody can make it out to church on Wednesday night. It's good to be in the house of the Lord. Miss Duffy, I need one of those, please. Please. Thank you. All right, several quick announcements before I dismiss the teenagers and the children. Mother's Day is Sunday. And, of course, if you haven't already signed up, please go ahead and sign up now for the Mother's Luncheon on Saturday, which is at 11 o'clock at Copeland's. And if you haven't already signed up, I would encourage you to do so. I know that you will enjoy that. So that's something that needs to be done tonight if you can.
Just let them know the church is just paying for ice water only.
Church ain't paying for nothing.
Just ice water.
You paying for your own water. And so, yep, pay for your own water. All right, we're going to dismiss the teenagers. Y'all can go ahead and go. And the children, you can go and go as well. Tonight I'm going to get us out of here by 7:35, so I'm going to talk quick and with the termites. So hopefully I can get us out pretty quick. And the more Clint talks, the more minutes I add. So, but anyway, because I'm hearing termites are coming, and so we're gonna get out of here quick. Let's continue to pray for Brother Scott's brother-in-law, and he is in New Orleans. And is my mic on? Is this mic on? Cut it up a little bit, please, if you can. Pray for Brother Scott's brother-in-law. All right, pray for the church. Brother Joey, how are you? Pray for little Colin, how are you? Pray for Scarlett. She Monday she had some problems and yesterday, and so pray for her. And her heart rate got over 200, and she was just really put a scare in us. And on Monday and Tuesday, so keep her in your prayers, and we'd appreciate that very much. Pray for Brother Doug, and I pray for Brother Tom, and I pray for his health. Pray for Miss Sandra, and pray for her needs, and also pray for her health. And so we'll continue to pray for them. Any other prayer requests? Brother Ronnie?
My sister-in-law, her knee, she was in an accident. She got broken foot, broken leg.
Goodness. What's your sister-in-law's name? What's her name?
Vanessa.
Vanessa, okay.
She got, they don't know about the one leg. They might have to amputate.
Goodness. So I pray for Miss Vanessa, who was in a car accident. Pray for her. Pray for her health. Goodness. All right, any other prayer requests? Brother Tom?
Brother Doug is suffering with his foot. Don't know what the problem is, but he's definitely got an issue with it. He was on crutches all day today, and he's having a hard time getting around. So whatever you can pray for him. I'm not a doctor, but I think he's got some kind of bone spur or something in there.
All right. Pray for Brother Doug. Pray for his foot, his eyes as well. Miss Gwen?
One of mine was passed away Tuesday, so if you'd pray for his wife, it's Norma Fernandez.
All right. Pray for Miss Norma. She lost her husband. All right. Any other prayer requests? Miss Emily?
Praise Landon got the job at the airport.
Even after they called me?
Somehow we don't know how he got it.
Yeah.
He got the job, but we're still waiting on all of his things to come back. You know, his drug tests and all that. We had to make sure no drugs.
Sure, that's gonna fail.
Yeah. So
I'll be looking for you when I need help with my luggage.
we're just waiting on the start date for that. So.
Good. That'd be a good job.
I think Josh got his job back too. He did, yeah. Josh and Cheyenne? Yeah, that job.
Could do it. I know they've been traveling a lot.
They back.
So, good. I haven't even heard that. He even told me.
Diana posted like in the Lynn's group chat.
Oh, yeah, I don't follow all that. My bad.
He was
Unless,
supposed to start back this morning.
listen, if you want me to know something, you text me personally. Don't expect me to see it anywhere else, and don't expect my wife to tell me. And so, if you want me to know something, you need to text me directly. So, yeah, and I'm okay with that. My name's on too many lists. I would love to delete my name from a few, and I don't like group text either, and so I don't like group text. I never respond in a group chat. Hardly ever will I respond in a group chat. The reason I don't respond in group chats is because I don't know who all those people are in a group chat, and so I rarely will ever respond in a group chat. And I'm in lots of group chats, and so I'm probably in a few more than I would like to be in, but I don't really like to be in group chats. So just for y'all to know that. If you send me a text in a group chat, it doesn't matter, but personally, send me something. If you want me to know something, just send it to me directly. That way I'll know. So, any other prayer requests? Ms. Reed? Shingles? I don't know. I thought they were going to be here when I got here, and they wasn't here. But as far as the guys nailing them on, they had an emergency, and my main guy had a family emergency. But the shingles were supposed to be here today, but I don't know what happened there. So, yeah, maybe they might have brought it to the church. They might have brought it to the old address over there, and so I might have should have checked. Might have been 2 pallets of shingles over there. So, but we got the blue and orange shingles. So I know y'all will like that. And then as far as the what do you call that stuff you put? The trim. We got little gators on all those. So this church is going to look so good when we get done.
It'll be local, yeah, that's right.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I've already listen, I know y'all think I'm crazy already, and that's okay. My wife thinks I'm crazy too. But I've already got my first message ready for when we get in this extension. I already got my first message ready. And so, yeah, we're going to invite the whole world. Invite the whole world. They're welcome to come. The aisles are welcome to come. We're going to have a ribbon cutting. And I would like to get some of our elected officials to come. And, for the ribbon cutting. And, yeah, we have a big deal. We'll have a good time. Miss Winborn, I think, is going to try to come. And Miss Winborn. And for the ribbon cutting. And, yeah. We're not going to invite the fire marshal. And because I already know we're going to be over capacity. I already know we're going to be over seating. And so I already know how people standing, I would imagine, on that day. And so I'm looking forward to it. So let's pray. And then I want to talk money, and then I want to get into the lesson. Lord, I do thank you for this lesson that you've given to us tonight. Lord, I do thank you for our time together. Lord, I do pray. Lord, we have many requests tonight. Lord, I think about Brother Scott's brother-in-law. Lord, I do thank you, Lord, that he did get moved to New Orleans. I know that's what the family wanted. Lord, I do thank you for that. Lord, I pray that you will. Lord, just continue to be with him. Lord, I know that they don't know how long. Lord, he's going to be there in rehab 2 months to a year. But Lord, I pray that you just help him. Lord, I do pray. Lord, I pray for Miss Gwen's daughter. Lord, I pray for her tonight. Lord, I know she's struggling with some things, and Lord, then also just family. And Lord, I pray that you just be with her. Lord, just give wisdom, Lord, to her daughter. Lord, just help her. Lord, I pray for the dog situation. Lord, I know that's weighing heavy on them as well. Lord, I pray that you will, Lord, just help them. Just give wisdom there. Lord, I do pray for little Scarlett, Lord, who just had a rough couple days. And Lord, I pray that just be with her and help her. Lord, just to fully recover and just be with her tonight. Lord, just give her strength. Lord, I know she's at home, hopefully preaching because she needs preaching. But Lord, I pray that you just help her to fully recover. Lord, I do pray for Brother Doug and his eyes and his feet. Lord, I pray that you'll just be with him. Lord, just help him. Lord, I know the main thing, Lord, is that Doug gets in church. And Lord, I pray that you'll just be with him. Lord, just continue to be with Brother Tom, Lord, as he is a witness to Doug. And Lord, I pray for Tom's health. Lord, I pray for the ministry at Immunitech. Lord, I pray that you would just continue, Lord, just to help him and just continue, Lord, just give him strength. Lord, I do pray for Miss Sandra. Lord, I pray for her health. Lord, I pray that you would just be with her knees and, Lord, also the cancer situation. Lord, I pray for Brother Ronnie's sister-in-law, Vanessa, Lord, who was in his car accident. Lord, who's broken foot, messed up leg, and Lord, it's just a lot of bad things. And Lord, I pray that you just help, Lord, just help her, Lord, to fully recover. Lord, and just give wisdom there. Lord, I pray for Miss Norma, Lord, who lost her husband. Lord, I pray that you'll just be with her, Lord, and give her strength, Lord, to, Lord, just going through this. Lord, I pray that you just be with her and help her. Lord, I pray that you be with our church, Lord, in the extension and just everything that we're trying to get done. Lord, I pray that ultimately, Lord, it will bring honor and glory to you. Lord, because that's what I want to see happen. Lord, is honor and glory to you. And Lord, I pray that you just help us, Lord, in that matter. Lord, I do thank you for this day. And Lord, I do thank you for being good to us. Lord, I pray that you'll just bless us tonight. Continue to give us wisdom. Continue to give us guidance. And Lord, and just help us. In Jesus' name, amen. Turn over to Ephesians chapter number 2. Ephesians 2. I want to mention something quickly. I know there's some watching live stream and some are in here. Some of the stuff I don't like to talk about on Sunday, just because Sunday morning I definitely don't like to talk about certain things. And Sunday nights are okay, but I don't even like to talk about it on Sunday night. I like to talk about things like this I'm going to talk about tonight on Wednesday night, because I assume that on Wednesday night, I just think it's the best time, to talk about certain things. So I'm going to go all the way back to whenever, I remember the first time that I came over and had a meeting about becoming pastor at Community Baptist Church. And I remember, I think, if I remember right, I forget who I was in the meeting, but I know that I was in Brother Duffy's living room or sitting at his kitchen table. And I don't remember who I was there. But I do remember one question that was asked sitting in there. And it was a question that I remember. It was about money. It was about finances. And they asked me about money and about finances. And my response was, I've only known Faith Baptist Church my entire life. That's where I went to church. I went to Bible college at Bethel for 3.5 years, and then I came back home. But the way that Brother Westmoreland did finances and the way that my dad did finances was night and day. Brother Westmoreland's thoughts on finances were different than my dad's thoughts on finances. And some of that goes back to this. You have to remember this, our church is very young. It's very young. Our church was started in 1986, if I remember the date right that I asked Miss Nancy, 1986. And so our church is, not even 40 years old. So our church is really young. When you go by some of these big churches, especially like all your First Baptist churches, some of those churches are 100 plus years old. I mean, they are very old. And a lot of that is you go back to, their buildings, and some of those buildings are paid for, and you go back to like my dad's church. My dad started a church and they didn't have money. And so everything that they're doing is they're doing it as they go because the church is growing. Now you come back in 40 years and Faith Baptist Church will be debt free. It'll have all those buildings and they'll all be debt free, and it'll be about 100 years old at that point in time. Community Baptist Church the same way. You come to Community Baptist Church, in 40 years, and I'll probably not be the pastor anymore because I'll be 82 years old. So hopefully there'll be a young man, will be pastoring at that point. I'll probably be in heaven at that point, and then I'll probably be fishing, in that river up there. And I think that they're going to have, some blue trout in it. That's what I really think. But my point is, you look at Community Baptist Church whenever Pastor Harrigan started the church, and he had to do things as he went. Is everybody following? He's doing things as he goes. But whenever you come to Community Baptist Church in 40 years, Lord willing, this is going to be done, right? I hope this is done. And I'm hoping that the next auditorium will be done. And how I like to do the next auditorium is build it kind of in a fan shape, you know, to where you have a fan shape, and then on the back you walk into a big foyer, and then the foyer goes like this, or fan shape around, and then it stops so that people that are sitting here can see here, and then that turns into a fellowship hall as well. It works both ways. And I've got a lot of friends of mine that have churches that are kind of similar like that. It works really well. And but that's kind of my thoughts on, you know, the building. And of course we'll plan all that out later. I'm just talking my thoughts. So whenever you come back in 50 years, that will either be paid for already, or it will be debt free, or God will drop $1 million in our pocket, or 1.5 million is probably what it will take to build it, and God will drop that in our pocket and we build it debt free. And so a lot of what happens is, and I want to use a word that I want us to understand something, is that a lot of things that we're doing today is we're making sacrifice for the future. It's a sacrifice for the future. Everything that we're doing is a sacrifice for the future. I want our church to live on beyond our generation, right? I mean, that's what I want. I want our church to live on beyond me, beyond you, beyond all of us. You know, that way in 50 years, if the rapture hadn't come yet, you know, there's still somebody up preaching from a King James Bible, and there's still people getting saved like Jasmine did, you know, this past Sunday. But one of the things that I want to come back to is whenever I was sitting in Brother Duffy's kitchen, and we were talking about finances, and they asked me a lot of questions. You know, one thing that we talked about was money and my thoughts on money. And I told them at that point in time that I would not lead the church in the direction that the church didn't want to go in, you know, whenever it comes to borrowing money, right? And so I know that the church, you don't want to go borrow a bunch of money and then not be able to pay that bill, and then you lose everything. And so there was a lot of pastors back in the 70s and 80s, you know, that went to certain Bible colleges, and they were anti-borrowing any money. And so they were like, you shouldn't borrow any money, don't borrow any money, don't borrow any money, because what's going to happen is you go borrow money, and then if people come or there's a split, then you can't pay those bills. And I believe a lot of that, and I have some of that same attitude in some sense. And then the other side of me is the way we did it at my dad's church. You know, we borrowed a lot of money. And I think right now, Faith Baptist Church is in debt about $650,000, which that doesn't faze me any. Honestly, just to be honest with you. I mean, I worked there for 17 years, and that doesn't faze me at all. I said all that to say this. When we were over on the other property, and we sold the other property for $325,000, and we came to this property, the one thing that we agreed on as a church was we had to tear down that, right? And that was $27,000 to tear that down. And then we're going to extend out, and we're going to add some classrooms. And to build this building, when we finish what we're doing, we're going to be a little under 5,000 square foot, I think is where we're going to be at. And if you were to build this building, just come in and just build it, you're looking at about $700,000 to $750,000 is what you'd be looking at for this building. And we're going to do it for around probably $225,000 is where we're going to be at when we get finished. It's a lot more than what I had first anticipated, because there was some things like that foundation killed us with the dirt and just some things that had to happen. And so there's been some things that have really hurt us in that sense of the building, of costing more. You know, we're not going to have to borrow any money. Don't get you. We're not going to borrow any money. We're going to have, hopefully and prayerfully, you know, we'll have some money left over, you know, in the bank whenever we finish. I said all that to say this. There are things that I pray for every single day. Me and Clint were talking earlier, and I mentioned him a particular amount of money that I was praying for, you know, to do a lot of the things that I want to do. And he asked me the question. He said, and I don't know if he was joking, kidding, or what, but he said, "You really pray and ask God for that much money?" Yes, I am. I'm praying and asking God for that much money for lots of reasons. So we can reach people with the gospel, we can build. There's lots of things that I want to do, and I want to see this happen. But it takes money, right? It takes money. Nobody is, I mean, it takes a lot of money, unfortunately. It takes a lot of money, you know, to get this extension done. And it is costing more, you know, than what I had first originally had thought. You know, but I said all that to say, when we finish this extension, I really believe that everybody in the church is going to be truly excited, and it's going to look good. I really believe it's going to look good. We're going to be able to seat about 160 people Over at the other property, we set 80. I think we get about 85 chairs in here, 90 chairs, 100 chairs, maybe 3,000 chairs in here. But we'll better get 160. We'll have a nice platform, have a place for the orchestra people with instruments to play, have a nice place for Miss Denise to play. We'll have 4 classrooms, 2 nice bathrooms, and then of course the 3 containers. So we'll have room to better stretch out a little bit. I said all that to say this: when we finish that and we get done, I will be ready to immediately move right into the next phase, and that is start on the next one. I'll be ready immediately. Like, go ahead and get the plans drawn up, start getting permits, and move right into it. Go borrow $1.5 million and roll, baby, roll. And so, but Brother Scott's already told me, Pastor, whatever you want to do, I'm for. I'll even sign my name to that $2 million loan. And so that's what Scott told me. And then Brother Duffy's like, Pastor, I'll sign it too. I would put my name on it. And so, but my point is, I said all that to say, of course, I'm picking on Brother Duffy. I'm picking on Duffy, Brother Scott. I said all that to say this, that when we finish this, I will be ready to immediately move, because I don't know if I will ever not be ready, right, to go on to the next project. That's how my dad, how I am with my dad. I've been used to my dad. We've always been in a building program. The entire 17 years that I worked for him, we was in a building program. I don't remember anything other than a building program. And here's why. The church isn't 100 years old. It's not. And so you're having to build. You're having to build all of that. And you're having to get it there. And so it goes back to, it takes a lot of sacrifice, to get it there. And so then when the next guy comes in behind, the next generation comes in behind, we should have this done, and we should have that done, and we should leave something behind. So I just wanted to mention that tonight. I probably messed it all up, murked it all up on how I'm explaining it. And but my heart is get this done, have a ribbon cutting, have a nice dinner, put a pavilion out here, put a place for the kids to play. Probably wait about a year before we borrow the $1.5 million and start on. Of course, I like to pick on Brother Duffy, and then start on. We're going to have to wait for him to go to heaven before we build the next building. And so I'm only worried about Brother Duffy, and so he's the only one I'm worried about. So, but either way. I said all that to say this. I'm coming back to this. I really believe, I believe this. I believe this with all my heart. I believe that God could give us that money. I believe it. I believe it. So I'm praying. That God will. 2 weeks ago, I was praying for a specific number, and I walked out and came back in, and Brother Duffy and Brother Scott held up 2 checks. And I'm praying for a specific amount right now, because I know where I want to be when we get this building done. I know how much money I want to have in the bank. And in order for that to happen, we do need some more money to come in. So I'm praying very specifically, about a certain amount, so we can be at a certain area whenever we get this building done. Because, look, I don't want to wait 20 years to start on the next building. A lot of churches do that, and it messes them up. They get into I could think of several churches to where they get full, and then they don't want to step out. Some of it is stepping out by faith. Now, I don't believe you go lay down on a railroad tracks and pray a train don't hit you. I think that's dumb. And so I do believe that you walk by faith, and you don't go borrow $1 million if your church is only running 50 people, right? That's not smart. And so you want to pack it out and then start raising money and get money come in, and then build it, get the foundation done, right? And then get the shell put up, and then do things as we go and build it debt free. And but I will say this, that doing things in this parish is a lot different than doing it how my dad did it, how my dad did some things. And I'm going to mention this, and there's some other churches that are in Mississippi, and they're in rural areas where they can get away with a lot of things that we can't get away with here, and they're making us put doors in. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's that in some churches, in some areas, they get away with it. But we're not going to get away with that. So I'm learning. I'm just being honest with you. I am learning that things here in St. Tammany Parish is going to be 10 times more expensive than what than what I was used to in Gulfport. And I'm just telling you, it's just a lot more expensive than what I'm used. And so I apologize about that. And even over in other parts of Mississippi, they get away with things that we're not going to get away with here. And it's different, St. Tammany Parish. And part of that has to do with, I guess, being by New Orleans. I'm not sure. I'm the new kid on the block, and trying to learn and want to build a church and want to see God do something, and just praying that God will send the money. So we have the money to finish this. Like we're good, but I'm praying that God will send a specific amount so we can get chairs whenever we finish, so we're not on the white chairs, and so that we can do the things that we want to do and make it, because I want to make it nice. I'm going to say this very respectfully. There are some things that people will never do in their own house, but they're okay with it being at God's house. And I don't understand that. Why would you want God's house to be anything less than what you would have in your own house?
Amen. Amen. Yes.
You know? Like, I just don't think that that's right. There's a story in the Bible about where the house of God was laid to ruins, and people were focused on their house, and God corrected them. He's like, you're focused on your house, and you ought to be focused on my house. You know, and I understand. Now, don't take that here, because we're doing the work here, right? And I've not heard any complaints. None. I'm just trying to explain. You know, I haven't heard nobody's complained anything to me. And I've heard nothing but positive. I mean, y'all are ready to get in this thing as much as I am. And y'all are giving as much and more. And y'all are praying and trying to get a hold of God. And that really encourages me more than you know. So I know I took up a lot of time, and I hate that. But I really kind of wanted to explain. And while we're on this, does anybody have any questions about any of this? Any questions? You know, if you have any questions, feel free, to ask, text, call. Ask Brother Scott, ask anything. You're never going to bother me. No question is going to bother me. I get cussed out enough at work and hollered and screamed out at work. Miss Sheree?
This is me, okay? Once we make this a sanctuary, we don't have, and you put carpet, we don't have a fellowship hall. So this is just me, don't put the carpet. Maybe you want to because we will have no place to fellowship. We can't bring any food in here. And we do a lot of fellowshipping. So to me, wait on the carpet.
So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Or even the chairs if we have them.
I'm glad you mentioned about the carpet and about the fellowship. One thing that on the carpet, we're not going to put carpet. It's going to be they're called carpet squares.
We have that at work.
And these carpet squares that we can use is the same thing that we put in my dad's church in the fellowship hall, because we use it for Sunday school room and fellowship hall. And with these carpet squares, we were able to have Sunday school, and it doubled as a fellowship hall because of the carpet squares that we put in. So that way, if somebody spilled something, you can or somebody messed up some food, then you can peel up the carpet square and just put another one right back in its place. And so you're okay with, you can have fellowship and you can have church at the same time with those carpet squares.
So you don't have, look, have you seen this floor? I think you're going to be buying a lot of squares.
Very potentially.
Yeah, we just did that at our office, and I like the squares so they can be replaced, but I think that would get expensive. That's just my.
Yeah, and some of the fellowship, we will have to be creative. And we're going to have to think outside the box. And we have some ideas, as far as the fellowship is concerned, and just trying to be creative. Because one thing is, we have to work with what we have.
Exactly.
We have to work with what we have. And we have to work with what God gives us, and we have to be good stewards of it. And so whenever it comes to the church, and as far as having church, that's the number one priority, right? The number one priority is Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. That's the number one priority. And whenever it comes to fellowship, we might have to do fellowship where we don't have food. We might have to do fellowship while we meet, we set up a tent outside. We kind of try to think outside the box whenever it comes to those type of areas, because whenever it comes to this part, because we're going to close that off right there, and to try to make that look better as far as the church is concerned. And so that's kind of the thought process of the carpet tiles, and to make it look churchy, because you want people to come in and feel like they went to church. I get people tell me, preacher, when I go out, sometimes I don't feel like I'm going to church. And so when we get this done, it's going to feel like church. But if you come in here and half of it's this and the other half is concrete, so if you put those carpet tiles, you're going to get the churchy look and the churchy feel that you want. Plus, it's going to help with the acoustics, with the sound. And then you can have fellowship with those carpet tiles, because if something happens, you can replace one of them. And so those are some of the things, that you think about and look at whenever it comes to the fellowship and those carpet tiles versus that other type of carpet. Because you're right, we can't use that carpet because you can't fellowship on that carpet. I don't know if I would ever want to put that even in the auditorium where you don't have fellowship, is because those carpet tiles are so much easier. Because one thing that we're doing, is as the church is growing, you're reaching people and you're getting people to come in. Let me just give an example, okay? Let's just be real for a moment. We're going to put the coffee and donuts outside, right? And we're going to say no coffee and donuts inside the church. What you going to do if there's a new family and they're a visitor and they come out there and get coffee and come in this church? Are we going to be so strict on them and tell them you cannot come in here and offend them and maybe run them away? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to love them and let them come in here. And if they want to drink a cup of coffee and eat a donut, we're not going to say a word. And then what if they spill that? We're not building a museum, right? We're building a church. And so that's got to be our number one focus and number one priority. And so whenever we do these carpet tiles, our rule is, yes, we don't want carved coffee or donuts in here. But if somebody comes in here with coffee and they spill it, no big deal. We got coffee, we got carpet towels, and we can replace that carpet towel. And then they don't feel bad, about it. And so that's one reason why the carpet towels, I think, will be so much better. Now, the platform, I would like to put wood, something a lot nicer on the platform. Maybe put a wood. And that's going to depend, too, on the money, how much money we have. If somebody writes a $30,000 check and puts it in the offering plate, we'll better get all the chairs, do the nice wood, and we can do things a little nicer. Or somebody puts in $50,000, we can, get the microphones that I really want. And so, yeah, we are. I'm excited. I cannot stress that enough, that I am thrilled about what God is doing at our church and the spirit in our church. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled about that. Look at Ephesians 2. I want to give you a verse, then we're going to be done because some termites are on the way. Anytime on Wednesday night, that is the time to ask questions. If you want to ask questions about building or anything, Wednesday night's the time. And so Sundays mornings, I don't really like to take questions on Sunday mornings. And Sunday nights, I really don't like to either. But Wednesday nights, that's the time to ask anything you want to ask. So that's right, pray. I appreciate Clint. He's been really helping me a lot. And he's fired me already a couple times, and I've fired him a couple times. And so he got fired up today. He made me almost cuss in the camper. And but anyway, we got to look at the Bible and Jesus. Look at Ephesians 2, verse number 11. Wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by my hands. Let me just say this right in verse number 11, is that it is good sometimes to just remember. Just remember. I love the story of the Bible where the nation of Israel, remember what they said whenever they got out and they was having to eat some of the same things? What did they say? Remember what they said? We had it better in Egypt. Remember? We had it better in Egypt. Matter of fact, we're going to get a council together. We're going to vote you out, Moses, and we're going to get us another leader, and we're going to go back to Egypt. What was those people thinking? What was in Egypt? Slavery? Oppression? That's what slavery was. Those Egyptians, at any time they wanted, they could take your wife for a slave. And I'm not talking about washing your dishes or mopping your floor. I'm talking about a slave. Whatever they wanted is what they could do. And those people are like, we want to go back there. Like, have you lost your mind? And that's where sometimes that's what Christians, sometimes they think, well, I had it better back then, and they forget about, those hangover days.
That's right.
They forget about those headaches. They forget about, where their marriage was about to fall apart. They forget about all those things. And it's important that we remember, and we never forget where God has brought us from. Never forget. Sometimes churches, they build a building and it gets nice and all of a sudden it becomes a museum and not a church. We can never get there. This is the church of the house of the living God where the body of Christ meets, and any and everybody's welcome. And we can get a bunch of snot-nosed little kids running around here, and that'll make my day. That's what we need, because that's the future generation, and get lost people in here, and people come here, they smell like they've been drinking all night. Those are the people that we need to reach with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And this can never become a museum. This is a house of God, and this is a hospital, emergency room, and to reach and help people. And some churches forget that. They want to build these huge monuments and have all this gold and everywhere, and they got these big chandeliers, and I'm not opposed to chandeliers. If we get one or two, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the kids swinging from it as well. And so, but my point is, it can't ever become a museum. This is a church. It's a church, and we can't forget that. We got to remember. We got to remember. And I love this. He says, wherefore remember. He says, remember. Remember, you used to be on your way to hell. But remember, you got born again. You got saved. And there's nothing better than that. And saved. We can never forget where we come from.
That's right.
Listen. As long as I'm pastor at Community Baptist Church, and I pray that that's for another at least 35 years. Till I'm 77. We're never going to forget this man right here. At Community Baptist Church. As long as I'm pastor. We're going to have that right there is going to be the Hall of Fame. We're going to have Pastor Mike Harrigan's picture hanging up in there. And we're going to have Pastor Denny Winborn's picture hanging up in there. And as long as I'm pastor, we're never going to forget those two men. Never. We're going to remember. We're going to remember. It's important that we remember our heritage. It's important that we remember the sacrifice that that man made for our church. It's important that we remember the sacrifice that Pastor Winborn made for our church. And we're not going to forget them. We're going to have the Hall of Fame, and we're going to remember those men. And when we get this done, our first service in there, I want us to have Founders Day and our first service, and where we're going to honor those two men, and we're going to honor Miss Winborn, and we're going to honor Miss Harrigan, and on that first service, and have Founders Day. And I think it'd be good to have ribbon cut and Founders Day, honor that heritage, that God has for us. I think it's so important that we not forget. We not forget. Sometimes it's good to drive by the old building, and just remember. Just remember. I can remember at my dad's church, when we started 3706 West Railroad. I'll never forget the address. West Railroad, Gulfport, Mississippi, 39503. The little old white church downtown Gulfport. Sometimes I'll drive down there. I've driven down there in the last couple of months and sat on the steps. And I just sat there and remembered. Out there at that light pole, there used to be a basketball goal. Remember, we were so poor. I took a tire rim off of a little bike and took all the spokes off, and I took an old mop and cut the strings off of that mop, and I hung those mop strings on that tire rim, and I took that tire rim and I nailed it on that light pole, and that was my basketball goal, for many years, because our family we were poor, and I remember that oak tree and climbing up that oak tree. I'll never forget that time my dad went soul winning, and he told me, he said, stay out of that tree. My dad was supposed to get back at 11:30. He got back at 11:15. And you know where I was at? I was in that tree. Dan, come to my office. But we remember. It's good to remember, where you come from. And never forget. Never forget. And I like where he's saying here, what Paul was writing to this church at Ephesus. And he says, wherefore remember. Remember. So many times people forget. People forget their friends. People forget how it was whenever they were poor. Y'all remember after Katrina?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Remember those Vienna sausages and crackers? I hate Vienna sausages and crackers. I hate them. I call them Vienna. Or whatever, you're confusing me.
It's like
I hate them.
like Austria.
Yeah, I hate them.
They said, we're passing out water in an aluminum can. It was awful. You couldn't drink the water out of the aluminum can.
Remember. The emphasis tonight is remember. Let's not forget. Let's not forget. So I'm going to pray. Let us get out of here, and before the termites start coming in to the light. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call, text, reach out. Lord, I do thank you for this evening. Lord, I thank you for our church. Lord, I pray you'll continue to bless our church. Lord, help us. Lord, as we just want to do your work. The heart of our church, the heart of these people here, we just want to see people saved. We just want to see Christians grow. We just want a place to meet so we can hear from you and pray and edify and build each other up. Lord, I pray that you help us. Continue to give us wisdom and lead us. Lord, help us. Lord, if there's a direction we're going that we shouldn't go, show us. Lord, I pray that you give us a good evening. In Jesus' name, amen.